Hello, everyone. Hello, Congressman Deutch, CEO Deutch.
Nice to be with you. Nice to be with
Am
everybody.
I allowed to call you Ted just for now, just for efficiency?
Always, always. It's true for you. It's true for everyone in the room.
Thank you. And thank you for the introduction. It's so wonderful to be here, to be part of the AJC family. Let's just dive right in with this moment. It's quite a career change. Why did you decide to take this job?
It's an excellent question. I'm not sure why everyone's laughing. Look, this is this position, this job, this organization. This is who I am. Everything that I've done in my life is motivated by my Judaism, and it's what I'm most passionate about. It's what drove me to be involved in the community as a lay leader. It's what made me, as a state senator, figure out a way to confront Iran from Tallahassee, Florida, something that doesn't happen that often. And it's guided everything I do in Congress, from tackling anti-Semitism to chairing the Middle East and North Africa subcommittee, to finding ways to have my Jewish values infused in all I do. And the last thing is, I want to go back to what my friend Foreign Minister Lapid said yesterday about our family. And most important to me is that this is my family. I will say, however, that as Foreign Minister said, we love our family more. And I just wanted to take a moment and acknowledge my wife Jill and daughter Gabby, who are here, and my kids Cole and Serena, who are watching, because I love them most of all. But thanks for the opportunity.
And Jill has quite a Jewish resume of her own, so she'll be another AJC interview at some point. I hope to grill her.
I'm so proud of my wife and kids and all of their involvement in the Jewish community, and can't wait for everyone to get to know them as well.
But I want to stick with the personal, because you have always worn this not just on your sleeve, very unapologetically, very publicly, and particularly in a moment when not a lot of people are doing that in public life. Just if we can go back to your Jewish bio a little bit.
Sure.
I want to start with Camp Ramah in the Poconos. No, we only have 15 minutes, actually only 12 and a half, so we're not going to be able to do camp. But I do, but I asked.
That's why I came out today.
He actually did a whole podcast on Camp Ramah. I suggest you find it. But it is, I'm obviously joking and not joking. This is something that you've lived a long time. It's in your DNA. Can you just give us a little bit sense of how you grew up, and particularly your father's history?
Sure. I grew up, I'm the youngest of 5 kids. I grew up in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, in a small Jewish community. And I was one of a very small handful of Jews in my high school. I was the pro-Israel community in my high school. I was the Jewish community in my high school. I fought anti-Semitism. I was the anti-Semitism fighting committee at my high school. And it's something I take real responsibility for. But I'm the youngest of 5, and my parents were older than most of my colleagues. My dad graduated from high school, enlisted in the Army, and went off to fight the Nazis in the Battle of the Bulge, and earned a Purple Heart when a piece of shrapnel went through his helmet. And my dad always told me, especially my siblings had all moved out of the house by the time I was 6. So I spent a lot of time with my father, who always wanted me to know that we are Jews and we are Americans, and we should be proud of both and never take either for granted. And that's what guides me still.
In 2019, a Washington Post columnist wrote a story that began with this sentence: "Moral clarity is a rare commodity in Washington." She was actually talking about the discussion about singling out anti-Semitism as a focus in a congressional resolution. But I want to go to more recent moment, 2021. You addressed the House floor in the debate about continued funding for Israel's Iron Dome defense system. And I'd like to play a clip, it's only 2 minutes, of your speech on the floor, because it was so powerful and memorable, and then ask you about it.
Sure. I thank my friend, Chair DeLore, and I thank the Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I have a speech about how important it is for us to stand up
against terror and the terror strikes against Israel launched by the terrorist group Hamas from Gaza. 4,500 rockets that Iron Dome helped us stop. And I have a speech that's all about how important it is for us to replenish that. But, Mr. Speaker, I cannot allow one of my colleagues to stand on the floor of the House of Representatives and label the Jewish democratic state of Israel an apartheid state. I reject it. Today, this caucus, this body, the House of Representatives will overwhelmingly stand with our ally, the state of Israel, in replenishing this defensive system. If you believe in human rights, if you believe in saving lives, Israeli lives and Palestinian lives, I say to my colleague who just besmirched our ally, then you will support this legislation. May I have 15 more seconds?
You have the gentleman 15 seconds. You have the gentleman 30 seconds.
Is recognized for an additional 30 seconds.
Mr. Speaker, we can have an opportunity to debate lots of issues on the House floor, but to falsely characterize the state of Israel as consistent with those, let's be clear, it's consistent with those who advocate for the dismantling of the one Jewish state in the world. And when there is no place on the map for one Jewish state, that's anti-Semitism. And I reject that. I stand in support of this important legislation. I thank the Speaker, the Majority Leader, the Chairwoman for bringing this forward, and I urge every one of my colleagues to stand with us in support of it.
Thanks.
So it is not a given. It is actually not obvious these days to take on one's fellow members of Congress so publicly, particularly in one's own party. Yeah. Can you address that moment and particularly some of what you are seeing in Congress right now in terms of the strains when it comes to Israel?
Sure. Look, the thing that the reason we're together here is because we understand the threats facing the community now. We understand the rise of anti-Semitism on the far right. We understand the rise of anti-Semitism on the far left. And we understand the need to confront it. But that requires boldly speaking out and standing up and not backing down. And in this case, that meant that after one of my colleagues came to the House floor to attack Israel, label it an apartheid state, in a completely over the top and, as I said, just unacceptable attack on our ally, it required a response. And you don't always have the opportunity to stop and think and plan and figure out the right way to respond. There are moments where timing is everything. And at that moment, if I didn't do that, then the last voice of the Democratic Party before we voted on Iron Dome funding would have been one that labeled Israel an apartheid state. So I waited until the end to have the opportunity to respond. And what everyone needs to understand is the response from my colleagues was incredible. The people who were so grateful because they don't want to be associated with the far left anti-Israel views because they stand with Israel. We have an obligation to lead, and when we lead, others will see it, they'll hear it, they'll internalize it, and it will empower them to do the same.
I think what you describe, and they're welcoming that opportunity that you, in a way, gave them that bulwark to stand strong, is harder for those who I would say are under 30. I know that's a generalization, but we're both seeing it. We have kids in their 20s. It's a constant conversation at AJC. It's gotten harder, I think, than it ever has in my lifetime to, as you say, stand up, and particularly with the pressures that are virulent on social media, particularly in May 2021. You know the challenges. When it comes to the number of young people, and I know AJC has done its own research on this, that are feeling the need to hide their Jewishness It's not that they don't feel Jewish pride, but they're saying, in the scheme of things, this is not just a headache that's mundane. This is not going to be worth the fight. I'm going to be essentially ostracized, canceled, attacked. How, when you think about your role at AJC, can you navigate some of these pressures now when it comes to young people?
It's a really important, arguably the most important question there is, which is what about the next generation? And there are, I would answer it two ways. First, just with respect to anti-Semitism and advocacy, you have to make sure that young people are prepared to be the advocates that they can be. The number of people who are afraid to speak up is also a function of people who aren't comfortable, but so many of them want to, and AJC, through the LIFT program, the Leaders for Tomorrow program, trains advocates in high school to be ready to go to a college campus and take this on. And I think the opportunity is to build on that and to create this whole cohort of leaders who will shape the debate as it takes place on college campuses is enormous. That's one piece. But the other piece that we don't spend enough time talking about is the fact that too often we're engaged in this battle on the terms that the anti-Israel crowd wants to engage in, instead of focusing on where we are now in the world. And every time is a good opportunity to acknowledge the incredible leadership of David Harris, but this is a particularly good time because what AJC has done under David's leadership with the incredible staff that it has helped to set the stage for, among other things, the Abraham Accords. And the circle of peace for Israel is growing. And the number of countries in the world who want to be a part of that, who want to tackle climate change by using Israeli technology, who want to address food insecurity by using Israeli expertise, who understand what Israel brings to the table, that's getting bigger and bigger. We should be we do and need to even more be telling the story, and our young people should feel comfortable telling it, that there is a very positive story for Israel happening right now. The world sees it, we see it, and we need to make sure that we're sharing that with everyone else.
You, just to switch, and I know it's a little bit abrupt to the international stage, but you've raised it with the Abraham Accords. I just want to touch on when you chaired the Congressional Study Group on Germany, and you used a meeting with Chancellor Merkel to advocate for survivors. Can you talk about that for a second?
Oh, sure. So I chair the Congressional Study Group on Germany, which is always very peculiar to people. Deutch, by the way, no German blood anywhere in my family, just to be clear. I know what you're all thinking. I was asked to chair it by a Republican colleague of mine who thought I would be a good partner. I said yes because I knew that eventually I would have the opportunity to sit with Chancellor Merkel. And that opportunity came, and a delegation sat across from the Chancellor, and I spoke last, and one after one, they raised all the issues that one would expect: trade, the importance of the transatlantic relationship, migration, there were refugee issues, brought them all up. When it was my turn, I turned to the Chancellor and I told her that I represent a community in South Florida with one of the largest populations of Holocaust survivors. And it was a moment where Claims Conference was negotiating, and I explained to her that this was the last opportunity that we had to help ensure survivors could live out their lives in dignity, and I implored her to do more to help. And she looked at me and said, "Congressman, I just returned from the anniversary of the liberation of Dachau." And she said, "You must know the special responsibility that I feel when I shake the hand of a survivor, or when I hold the hand of a survivor or shake the hand of a liberator." And she went on to advocate strongly for more. And again, why do I want to do this job? The relationship that AJC has built over the years, that David has built over the years in Europe, in Germany, forging those close ties that allow those kinds of conversations to happen every day, not just on the occasional congressional delegation. That's what's so special about this.
So unfortunately, yes. We're almost out of time, but the last question, you are obviously very accomplished, and congratulations on your career so far. But
Thanks. Again, I don't know why that's a funny line, but go ahead.
But there has to be some spilkis
Yeah.
about filling the shoes of David Harris. And as you look ahead,
That's the laughter. I understand. I'm putting it all together.
as you look ahead at this incredible
Yeah.
menu of priorities and challenges,
Yep.
just what excites you, what energizes you, I should say, about the work that lies ahead for you at AJC?
Look, I'm leaving a place that is, suffice to say, not the best functioning institution in the world at the moment, where there's great vitriol and members attacking members and partisanship, and it's really challenging. And by the way, I was expecting to continue on in that work, but then this opportunity came along to be in a place where there's this remarkable group of lay leaders and activists who all want the same thing, which is to work together to strengthen the Jewish community and advance Israel's place in the world and defend democratic values, and to have the opportunity to work with those lay leaders and a group of dedicated professionals who spend every day giving their all to this cause, and knowing that I'm stepping in. Yes, I fully acknowledge, I don't know where David is. The shoes are enormous. I can't try to fill David's shoes, but I can absolutely acknowledge it's because of David's leadership over these years that everything I've described about this organization is so set for further growth and success, and the opportunity for all of us to build together a brighter future for the Jewish community in the world.
Thank you, Congressman Ted Deutch. Thank you to all of you. Enjoy the day, and thank you, AJC.
Okay, thanks.